So technology as an enabler, not a driver. Thank you, I love it. We hope so. Also in terms of the use of AI, let's be the AI something that gives power to our ideas instead of substituting them. Mino, your point.
Yeah, thanks a lot, first of all, and thanks to you all to be here, and thanks the plan, thanks Iris, and first of all, thanks a lot of my team, that thanks to them, we are here enjoying this moment, and also to my family. And yeah, maybe a short story that started when I was 16 years old. I started my career as a bricklayer, and then today past 30 years already. And after that, I started in the School of Architecture, a really technical school where we started drawing with our hands to drawings where somebody that's at my age remember that when you draw with the hand and then you have to scratch, you know, to cancel what was wrong. And then we started understand how to draw with computers, and then the Academy of Mendrisio, and then understand how to connect with the concept of creating architecture. And then after opening my own office, with working with clients, and all this process, and you imagine 30 years, it's really a long process. And today, with this new typology of softwares and way of thinking, it's incredible how we are starting working with the AI system. It's already only 1 year today. And this has an acceleration that from one end really scares, but from the other hand, as a superpower that can reduce in a crazy short moment of time something that I create in 30 years. And I think that the future generation, if they are really smart, and for sure they are, also because they use the technology really better than me, and will change completely the way of thinking and working through the way of creativity, and not only. And if we think that it's in 1 year, just everything changed that fast, imagine in 10 years what can happen. And so it's crazy how to think that we can make a compression of 30 years in 1 year, and something that I imagine through my daughters that today is only 10 years, but the oldest one. But if you imagine this new world that it's controlled by only 5 people, actually only Americans, and this is also something really important to take in our mind, is changing completely the way of thinking and the way of the architecture and the way of creativity will change. So I will say that for sure experiences are really important, and also mistakes are more important than success. And this AI maybe cannot teach you, but at the same time, it's really important to have an open eye, or maybe two better, in this new way of thinking that is changing completely everything in a really crazy and fast way. And also the expectation of the clients is changing, because they think in one way that now everything is really easy to do because somebody else in a software is doing something for us. And so it's not an answer, but maybe a question also about not only to the crowd, but also of the people that I used to work together with me during the process of my project. But it's something really interesting that we cannot think in a smart way if you want to use this superpower, as I said in the documentary, that for sure are.
Thank you, Mino.
You're welcome.
Elisa.
Thank you, first of all, for having us here. It's a great evening, great opportunity. And I completely agree with you. The AI has a superpower, but also needs to be driven in a certain way. And it's important that the culture behind it, it's always taken as a first subject. So what you say that clients always have higher expectations. I think that it's also a reflection of what's happening in today's society. It's never enough. Always people want to have more options. And sometimes the time that people are taking to look at our projects, it's not really enough, I think. Because as everybody knows here, we as architect, as a designer, really care. We are really passionate about what we do. And we take days, months, sometime to carve the right idea, to try to find the spirit of the project, to find the essence of what client wants. We try to imagine them into our project, in our building, what space will make them feel happy, how they will live with their families. We are specialized in interior design, so we also think which color will show them nicer, you know? So I think that what you said, that AI has a superpower, yes. I think it's a tool that we need to use in the future. We are obliged. We cannot not using, because everybody's using it, but using it in the right way with the ethics and with something as a specific goal in mind will be the best way to do. This is our point of view. Thank you.
Massimo.
Once more, thank you for inviting me here to be part of this wonderful discussion. We as landscape designers are deeply involved into the shaping of the environment, of the city environment, as well as the environment in terms of landscape. And from the point of view of AI, we are making experiments. That's what we are doing at all. Firstly, at this moment. And what we think and what we are realizing during this process is that the most important thing is to make the right question, because it is a superpower, but you need someone enough cultivated to make the right question. Without making right questions, you cannot have the right output. Given that, we still think that our, let's say, experience, our culture is a strong base to use this enabler as a really empowerment tool. If not, it's just pictures, and everybody's able to produce pictures, astonishing pictures also, but to make architecture or landscape architectures, I think is another matter, a unique culture to do that.
Enrico, thank you. It's okay.
Okay, good evening. Thank you to the plan for inviting me to take part in this discussion on such interesting experience as Architect Series is. I really found it again Mino's personality and the way of working he practice every day, creating architecture, making architecture. That's very important in my opinion. Concerning the new technologies and the AI, I think that is, I like this expression that Mino uses, superpower, that reminds in our past iconographic and cinema images and these heroes managing technologies, managing superpowers. I think that this means in particular a relevant phase of the design process. That is really the creative phase in which the designer, the architect tries to condense, to combine his sensibility, his experience, his vision, but also the necessity to find the compromises to join the interests, the goals of investors, of businessmen. And I think that Mino can really represent an example how we can use the superpowers in a right way. Since I met him for the first time, I think approximately 8 or 9 years ago, I immediately was impressed by his way of explaining his projects, starting from values, the site, the morphology, the anthropological elements, before sharing the drawings and the images concerning the projects. This is, I think, something important today, and Mino represents, I'm sure about that, one of the most talented new generation architects all over the world, and I think his approach is in the right way. So technology, digital era means to have a consciousness in the user. I don't want talking in a rhetorical way, but that is an example, concrete example of how we can manage properly these opportunities in the creative process.
Thank you, Enrico. Luca.
Hi. Again, thank you for having me as well. I agree with everyone else here on this panel. And AI is extremely young, as Mino mentioned. Just in 1 year has made huge steps ahead. But architecture, or I'm coming from the world of development, is not just a shape, drawing a shape, and so making a drawing. When you build something, you have so many factors to take into considerations, financial factors, economical factors, cultural factors, and the list goes on and on. And if I think back at how we have been working together with Mino in the past years, that could be an example. Like, we were pushing for give us more solutions, more options, and AI could give you 1,000 options. It's like going into a grocery stores and having the same products in so many different colors, sizes, and so on. But this could end up in being a very expensive and even wasted time. And here is the human factor. Mino has been insisting, this is the right solution, this is the way to go. So probably so far he has been right. So that's okay. That's a good advantage.
That's a good point. Next topic. Thank you. So reconnecting with nature. How does biophilic design translate into tangible benefits for users and investors? Well, when we think about Mino's architecture, we see that it's always linked with nature, and it comes out of nature, and it's inspired by nature. Atelier, Trep, Nizza Paradise, Blade, they all have a very, just to name three, they all have a very strong relationship with the place they are sit in, the nature that surrounds, and the way they want to link, dialogue, and also come into a contradictory relationship with nature in terms of what was there before, what comes after, what's natural, what's artificial, and its relationship. And it always does that with a very good balance. But here I would like to start with Massimo, for obvious reasons.
Yes, this should be my topic. I have to say that from a point of view of a landscape design, we are experiencing a sort of explosion in the last years of our specific field. And we collaborate with many architects, we say all the main important architects in Italy and not only in Italy. And there are different characteristics, we can say there are different attitudes. There are architects who make design and then ask the landscape designer to put greenery somewhere, somehow to enhance the building and to merge it into the landscape. I can say that Mino is another type of architect. He involves us, and he thinks deeply, and we agree, we are on the same page, on the idea that the building is a part of the landscape, and shaping buildings is land shaping, so landscaping also. And I would like to quote one of his masters, which is Kenneth Frampton, who, when I attended a lecture by him about Baroque architecture, he said that Borromini was impressed by the mountains that surrounded the lake of Lugano, and when he went to Rome, he made the domes that reminded that place. So I think that, as Mino quoted since the beginning of his speech, talking about water, nature, that was part of his life, I think is still going on in along this, let's say, this tradition, since the craftsmanship and the involving his body, his sensitive attitude into the construction field and merging it into a life experience that becomes landscape. So I think this is a much wider sense of landscape that he gives us in his architecture.
Enrico, thank you.
I totally agree with you, and I think Mino always considered this relationship with the place, with the landscape, with a specific feeling he tries every time to discover or to recreate in a cultural way. It's something reminding to me Christian Norbert Schulz when he talks about the genius loci, the spirit of a place, all the values that architecture should be able to feel and to combine to work on in that specific site. I think Mino have this kind of approach, and he often asks himself deeply how to manage. We have seen images of the Lago di Lugano landscape, that is a beautiful place. I remember Herman Hesse describing this as the land in which Alps and Mediterranean atmosphere and light are combined together. I think he is working continuously on these elements. So it's not easy, because obviously he has to combine volumetries, the client's necessity, but I think the way he managed, and also in Nizza Paradise, we have seen how nature define architecture as something living in the time, something dynamic, something that continuously involve ourselves in an emotional experience. That's important. So this is the way I think Mino managed a so relevant matter today. So when we talk about sustainability, responsibility to save the planet, I think is an example of a correct approach in managing these topics.
Mino.
I think it's not only save the planet, but it's save ourselves, save our soul. Because everybody of us, when stays in the nature, stay much better than staying in the city. So everybody's looking for going in the middle of a wood by himself and enjoying the smell, the feeling, the air, the hearing, the bird twittering. So at the end, it's easy because it's what we need. So nothing more than that. And then the most important and difficult thing is to manage it together with the urban environment and finding the way to engage not only the necessities of the people living inside what we create, but especially also the clients, because at the end, we cannot think in architecture without them and without the money for building them. And so this interconnection, it's really important to try and to find, not to try, because if you try, you don't get it. If you find it, you get it. So it's to get the best way possible to engage these elements. But at the end of the parkour, the end of the journey, it's really to find the best way of making our life better and our architecture fit in the site, at least changing it not worse than before. And if we do something not worse than before, it's already something.
That's a point, Luca.
Well, again, I'm the developer, so I'm looking at a little bit at the money side and the trend of biophilia and green or landscaping integrated in the buildings. It's certainly a beautiful concept. Sometimes, if not played well, we saw some examples in China, I think, entire quartiers with the towers filled with greens, and then the places remained empty because there were too many mosquitoes everywhere and nobody could open the window. What that means is that you need to increase your level, your knowledge, and integrate even more elements, and so you need to be good at that. So not easy. And in addition to that, it tends to cost more because then you have to think about how to provide water or how to discharge the water. And you need to know the type of plants that you can bring on this specific project. Yeah, and even the zoning, the coding, for instance, where we are active, are not yet at the same pace or level. A practical example, a green roof, not everywhere it's considered a green surface. There are places that are accepting green roofs as green surfaces and count those, and other places where they say, well, a green roof, it's exactly like a cemented roof, and that's too bad. Then there is no incentive for the developers to go in that direction.
That's a point, again, and it goes in direction, I would say, of Elisa,
Yes.
particularly after COVID, the interior and design and the outdoor design has become much more connected into probably one whole approach towards the space we live.
Yes, you are totally right. We are facing now more and more the request of living the outdoor spaces like an indoor one, you know? So basically we design our gardens, our courtyards as another roof, just without the ceiling, you know? And we take care of them in the same way that we care for all the other rooms, but we have the benefits of having the plants in their natural environment. Because many times, as you may know, we place a lot of greenery inside. Many years ago, we have designed 2 gigantic vertical walls in one of our projects. So the indoor plants are always beautiful to have. They always bring energy, I think, into the field, but they really, their environment is the outdoor space. So sometimes as a designer, we want to control everything, and we sometimes force things, but I think that in the end, nature, they always finds the way of reminding us, you know, of everything. But yeah.
Thank you, Elisa. Next topic. So the human dimension in a digital era, how can architects and developer balance efficiency and automation with emotional, sensory, and cultural needs? Okay, that's for you, Mino, to start. And it's your point, I would say. You have done all your career around the idea of human being and open being. That's your monograph, which we published inside the wider environment of the ever-evolving digital era with now even more complex situation. How do you look at it?
Yeah, it's not easy to answer actually this question. But at the end, maybe to simplify is to go back to the future, because at the end we are animals. And biophilia, there is love for life. It's something that allow us to think in a really, another time, simple way, the way of creating and the way of living spaces. Because the example where everybody of us goes to a restaurant is looking for a table that is in the corner with the back in the next to the wall and looking around because we are scared about the lions that wants to eat us. And psychologically, still today, we are looking for protection. And this protection has a great value together with the healthiness, because the most luxuries, the most expensive thing that actually is priceless because you cannot get it. This is the healthy, so it's the health. And at the end, I think we have to, as thinkers of people, that person that is professional in our field, has to really think not only technically a space and not only through the important matter of the cost of the construction, but also at the real values that you can find inside a space that actually the 90% of our time we pass it inside an architecture. That is a home, is a school, is an airport, is whatever, and we stay inside a space. So imagine how important is a space. And so this is something that as professionals we really have to think and keep in mind through another time, the biophilia. But biophilia not only through the greenery, that is just a part of it. There are studies that says that only a picture of a fake greenery makes you feel better. So also this topic is really important. So there are some elements that only looking at them can make you feel better. And I think the elements that we use in our architecture that are really simple, really natural, that is light, is air, is greenery, allow us to make people live better and stay better inside the spaces, together with the anthropometric dimension. Look at the space, you know, with this triple-light space, it makes you feel better than in a space that it's really narrow and dark. And on the same way also, when you enter in a toilet, that actually, silly, but the restrooms are really important in our way of living, because it's the first place that you see when you get up and it's the last one when you go to sleep. So imagine also to think every kind of space in which we are designing are part of our life, and I think are really important in the way we think how the people will live this specific space. So it's not easy to answer this question, but I think that as always, I think the great value of the obvious is the answer. It's something, it's obvious, that is correct, is really understandable from everybody, and it's really simple to get also for us as professionals. So sometimes we, as architects, we are looking for the wow effect, but then at the end, the most important thing is not the wow, is the simplicity and make the people stay good in their environments.
Thank you, Mino. Elisa, I go back to you, and then we come backwards.
Yes. Mino, I agree with you. And I think that it's also important which kind of materials we are using, which kind of surfaces are we touching. So I think that it's also important that the culture of people that are involved in the design process is somehow needs to be increased, because we work internationally, we work in London, we work in Dubai, and we see that, as Luca mentioned, the cost of projects sometimes are the critical element. And nowadays, the industry is doing some great efforts in creating a production chain that allows more sustainable materials, both in the productions, but also in the way of using them. Building that can be dismantled and rebuilt somewhere else, for example. So I think that the way we select our material also is very important.
I think also, I agree with both of you, of course. I think that we are facing a sort of new era towards these topics, because I see that less and less people is interested in theories or let's say an abstract approach. We are more and more going towards a more sensory approach. So the human-based experience, the user-based design, let's say, are becoming more and more the center of the topic of the design process. Given that all these materials, processes, everything should be reviewed according to this vision, and starting not to teach to clients or to people how they have to behave or to live, but to create with them the place where is, let's say, the best place to live in.
Yeah, I think my opinion that the relationship we live with technology, with this extremely fast development of opportunities, is to be intended. We have to change the approach, because in the history, if we look at the past, for example, when photography was officially announced in Paris to the people, to the society, in 1839, I remember something like this, Delacroix, a famous painter at that time, said, today, painting is dying. And now it sounds very wrong, this approach they have in facing a new technology. We could say that photography opens and extended more the potential of creative opportunities, ways for artists to express their vision, to create their works. So, in my opinion, we have to change approach in the terms, okay, I am 60 years old, so Mino is younger than me, and we are kids, Mino has kids. I see how they really friendly use the new devices. It's really surprising. And I think we have to consider this, because we live in this transition, in this middle phase of previous technologies, new technologies belonging strictly to the digital era. Probably the next generation will cancel what we are talking about this evening, because for them will be something natural to use these tools. So I want to say, just to finish, it's important, in my opinion, to ask ourselves about our contemporary age. Often, many people ask me, what's your opinion for the future of design, of car design, and I say, this necessity to ask about the future, in my opinion, is something to exercise in a way, something we have a sort of fear about, because we are not, in my opinion, we have to change this kind of answers, because future depends on what we do now, today. and the capability we have today to understand how a contemporary age, to prevent mistakes we already done, and to find a way that is current and consciously correctly oriented for our vision. So this is my opinion concerning the new digital era.
Luca.
So the humans are by nature curious, and when they find something new, they want to try it, and they want to go deeper understanding it, or try, really experience it. And turning back to what initially Mino said, again about biophilia, is a reaction towards previous developments that were too much concentrated on cement and bricks. And so now we need to rebalance and bring a more green into the cities. But back at the time, cement and bricks were the future, where in the 70s you saw a lot of drawings of whatever was in cement. That was great. It was the look of the future. And now we are doing a step back. And right now we have the AI, we have Elon Musk pushing the borders, telling us, look, in 10, 15 years, every one of us will have a robot in our house. I'm building them for you. Sure, we will probably try one of those, but then we will also find out the drawbacks, and then again do a step back. So I think the winning point in building the future is finding the right balance in the new things, in the new technologies, but still remaining attached to some old good rules, or because I think back in the days people were still having a good life in houses without air conditioning and without having the screen that sometimes doesn't pick your finger, or my wife has nails and very long, and sometimes she cannot touch. So it's, just finding the right balance. I think that's the key for the future.
Agreed. Next topic. Thank you. So beyond ROI, how can return on inspiration become a meaningful metric alongside traditional financial returns? We are rephrasing the typical ROI, return on investment, into something more empathic that we call return on inspiration. And here I start with you, Luca. That's your line of business.
Yeah, then, but I just continue what I started before by saying, it's not by adding all the newest technologies and in every aspect of the new building, of the new construction, or of the renovations that guarantees you the best product. Sometimes it's the opposite, actually, many times. If you introduce too much technology inside the building, be convinced or be sure that within a couple of months something will start not working the way you thought initially. And then, you know what, everything is so more complicated right now that one time you were able to repair the cars by yourself. Today you need 10 different engineers specialized in every single specific sector to solve the problem. So, and this is gonna drive you crazy. So here again, finding the right balance between the different elements and still deliver a very high level product, and so because technology costs, cost buying, cost maintaining it. So you don't need always the last version of the newest product, but simply just orient the building in a way that gains heat with the sun, or ventilation through just opening a few windows positioned well in the house, instead of installing a ventilation system that maybe breaks down after 6 months.
Okay.
You're saving money like that, which is extremely important.
Mino, a little behind the story for you. So Mino says, okay, I would like to talk about ROI. I said, that's okay. You're a very good entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs talk about ROI. No, but that's not the return on investment. It's for me, it's return on inspiration. Okay, so we talk about that. But my second layer question for you, Mino, on this is whose inspiration? Are we talking about your inspiration as an architect, the inspiration that you give to your clients, or the inspiration of people that live the architecture that you create? So which kind of inspiration are we talking about?
It's an holistic topic. So it's an holistic topic because, first of all, we saw, I think, in the documentary, nice location, nice picture, nice spaces, but we are working inside a market that every time change, because we change the location, we change sites, and actually also even jumping from one sidewalk to another change completely the approach of the project because of obvious reasons. And the return of investment is something really important because, as I said, then project which stays on paper, and it's not the work of the architects of just doing drawings, but we build projects. And the return of inspiration comes from the way of working in a holistic way together with a lot of different specialists. He said that, Luca said perfectly, that today is not possible to manage a car when it's broken because the market decide that for us, because they want to change the car, not to repair it. And also in the world of architecture is actually the same in a way, because today it's impossible to do everything, impossible, but in a so complex environment that the project has, because we work together with the norms, with the laws, with the municipalities, with the positions on the projects that unfortunately in Switzerland is really a pain, that fortunately in Europe, not all over, and also in America where we work, is not that bad. And then we have to work with engineers, with electricians. We are like orchestral, so we are not only architects, we are businessmen, we are thinkers, we have to manage contracts, damages on the projects that will occur, unfortunately happens during the years. And so this return of inspirations come often from the clients too, and from my team. So often my team, and I involve them and I thank them because I try to make them allow me to, and I get a great help from them because the ideas come also from them, and not only from the team but also from the client, even sometimes from the authorities, because with Luca we are doing a project, an important project, the Delfino project that you saw, that is 140 rooms, and you have to imagine to enter such a big project, 12,000 square meter of a new intervention inside a quarter. It's something like a bomb that arrives inside the environment and for the people living around, and so you can understand the complexity in all the managing of all this environment around of people and money, and So the inspiration comes from not only the architect, so the leader, but especially for the people working together with us. So I try always to, and I push my people, and that are not only my team, but also my clients, to be involved inside the project and inside the process. So the return of inspiration is to say, please help us, client, please team, help me, please, everybody that is involved inside the project can have idea that are better than mine.
I like that. Enrico?
I think that inspiration means probably focusing on values, because values, and when I say values, I think a material, something which belongs to our imagination, also to a concrete question, a concrete matter, and is a process where the driver is the designer, the architect, and his mission, not ever easier to complete, is to preserve these values for during all the stages of the project development, and work as possible in a synergical way with the partners, with the investors, with the client, final customers, with the specialists who brings the experiences in technologies, for example, or landscape. Or so, for me, values are at the center of, at the heart of the creative, of the design process, and yes, that's for me relevant.
Massimo.
The topic of inspiration is very, let's say, tricky in a way, because who is inspiring, who is inspired, the issue that you are facing at the very beginning. What I can say about this is that probably the return to the inspiration that I would, let's say, push is a collective inspiration, because we experience for a lot of, let's say, of so centuries, especially, let's say, the 19th century was the century of heroes, the 20th century of big heroes in architecture, in that should inspire other people. And from a financial point of view, the inspiration, as if we compare it to art, is a very, let's say, complicated topics, because we know art is not a very, let's say, you don't get a financial return in a very quick way. Usually art is a long-term investment. And a collective art, a collective inspiration is even a longer term investment. I just make an example. Let's think of a place like the Square of Siena or the Square of Venice. It's a place that whatever you come from, whatever is your life experience, is a place that inspires. And also, if it has been transformed into a sort of, let's say, of commercial place that everybody says, no, it's no more the Venice that we used to know, etc. But it's still a place that inspires, and everybody from all over the world find inspiration in places like those. So I think that something this kind of inspiration is stable. So it means that there are shapes that architects are able to create that can inspire people for centuries. So how can we achieve such a high, let's say, inspiration? For sure, because this inspiration is something that, let's say, related to the human beings. It's also interesting, this example that I made to you, because there are no trees in these squares. From a landscape design point of view, there are no trees in Venice. Almost, we don't remember trees in Venice or in Siena. We don't. But I remember Michelucci, for example, where he talked about the Square of Siena, used to say that it was a natural shape made in bricks. So it means that there is something that is natural, that it's connected to the human being, and that can inspire for centuries. This is a very high, let's say, goal, and I think that the modernists forgot this idea, and we are going back to this. And our aim for the future is try to find, to give shape to an environment that can inspire people, hopefully for centuries.
Bravo, Massimo.
That was a good one.
Yes, I totally agree. Yes, I totally agree with this. And I think that also the sentence, how you put it, ROI, return on investment, or inspiration, I think that somehow they are really connected. Because, I mean, when you are really able to listen to the people that are in front of you, and we leave this, I mean, more in the interior rather than sometime in big-scale architecture, your project is a successful one. And then how much do you value a good project? Which kind of value do you give of a result of a building when people will spend 90% of their time inside them? So I think that we live in an era where many people are able to move all around the world and people are interconnected. So somehow inspirations that are always merging one with the others. And I think that the key is trying to get the best part of each culture, each material, each shape, the nature, and bring everything together. And I think when you listen to the people next to you, you learn from new technologies, you keep your mind open. In this way, you achieve a very interesting projects, and in the end, this will give you your return of investment.
Okay.
If I may jump in and underline a few words that have been said here, is collective, interconnected, and what I also see, or one of my ideas, is that in the future we will also generally work more and more in larger projects that are interconnected and collective. And when I say this, it's in the sense that it's not just a project concentrated, focused on a single plot, on a single building, but we are more and more developing entire quartier, interconnected with the trains, with the routes, and whatever other type of logistics. And so today the architect is not only the person that has its own style and type of shapes and materials, but it needs also to be really a great communicator, or a person with a great sensibility to understand and feel all the needs from the collective, so that you can realize a project, a design that it best suits everyone and it best interconnects everyone.
Mino.
Yeah, maybe last, because then I think that we spoke a lot, but I really loved what Luca said and what Elisa said. This return of investment, a return of inspiration. We have an example. We designed this atelier trap for this artist in Origlio, where the way of really thinking around the values of the project arised so much the value of the asset that today is priceless. Because if you see the market and the prices of the building around this project and the value that today this project has a completely different way of looking at the market. Because if you see all the villas all around and you see the value of that villa that today has no value anymore, because if you want to buy it, you cannot go and look at the prices on that specific land, but it's priceless. This project is unique. And these erase a lot the value of the asset And so you can really understand the value of the inspiration that will arise, the return of investment.
Thank you, Mino. I think that's a good point where to wrap up our conversation. And I would like to thank Elisa Angelini, Massimo Brignoli, Enrico Fagone, Luca Quadroni, and of course Mino Caggiula and his team, everybody that has been here this evening, those that are connected remotely from around the world, and the Architect series will continue. Next episode will be Human-centric Architect, so stay tuned. Thank you very much.